Yeah, as you're probably seeing from the title of this video, I have left the civil service.
What?
I resigned. I quit my job in the civil service. I quit the fast stream.
Hold up.
I didn't even complete the full fast stream. Can you imagine?
Ooh.
After all those hoops and hurdles. But yeah, I left the civil service.
Wow.
And I'm going to get a little into why I did that. Also, as you can see, things have changed. Like, I've moved house, you know, living my little professional independent life. Yeah. Anyways, let's get on to the video. So like, if you're not new here, you've been here before, you know that I'm an economist by profession and I worked in the civil service. I was on the fast stream and also my face was like all over it. But it's a really interesting place to work. If you want to find out more about what it's like, the pros and the cons, like the honest tea about what it's like working in the civil service, check out my video. But I found that lockdown really enabled me to assess what it was that I was doing, whether I liked it or not, and whether it's really for me, if you know what I mean. Although the civil service and the civil service fast stream was a really dynamic place, it's really interesting, you do learn a lot, it's fast paced, man, it just wasn't given what it had to give, if you know what I mean. And lockdown made me realise that. I would boil it down to maybe 3 reasons why I ultimately made the decision to leave. So reason 1, really and truly, is because I don't think it was technical enough for me. I know, I sound like a loser, I sound like a big nerd, but honestly, one of my big motivations for becoming an economist was because I really enjoyed like delving into economic issues, looking at the numbers, doing real hardcore analysis to figure out what the answers are to some of society's biggest issues. That was my main motivation. So it meant being really technical, it meant developing an expertise. However, the civil service isn't quite conducive to, you know, really honing in on those kind of expertise. 1, because it's really fast paced. 2, because everyone is moving about. Like, no one really stays in one role for like ever. And if you do, it's usually because you're at a senior level or, you know, you want a bit more stability because you have a family, etc., etc. And 3, yeah, it's, I guess you're kind of constrained because you're working for the government, if you know what I mean. So like, even if you want to go down a particular route, like the ministers have an agenda and you need to fulfill that agenda or else what are you doing here? Yeah, for me it wasn't quite working out. For example, I was working in housing markets. I'm really concerned about like, okay, like how do we get affordable housing for young people? Like, how do we find the answer to that? Like, what's the best way? That's not our job as civil servants. We'll either have to outsource that to like academics or researchers, or we have to do like second-hand research or analysis, which is basically like looking at what other reports are out there, collating it, maybe picking out a few key conclusions and then putting it in a brief to the minister or something, which to me isn't in depth enough for what I'm trying to do when it's an impact that I'm trying to have. And therefore, I just figured out that I think I like the primary research aspect of things. Ultimately, what that meant was a lot of my time was spent doing repetitive things or doing things that I felt were a little bit surface level. This is not true for my time in local government finance, because actually the numbers that we calculated were actually going to local authorities, and you could see that, and the ministers will vote on it and that would determine their funding, so that's a little bit different. But even in environment and in housing, yeah, like it became repetitive. It was like I would inherit a model, I would update that model, maybe make some changes, you know, to improve it, but then it became repetitive of doing that same thing and maybe putting out the same key products, which was like, okay, I need to update this indicators pack on like what's going on in the economy, and that's like every 2 weeks, and I had to do that every single 2 weeks. We know house prices is going up, but like the trajectory is that they're going up. What are you going to do about it? Yeah, if you're working on something and the evidence shows that actually policy X is the best way to achieve whatever you need to achieve, but the minister has made whatever political promises he's made and goes for policy Y, what? Like, what are we doing here? What are we actually doing here? Instead of evidence-based policy making, it became policy-based evidence making to justify the policy that was coming in. And I don't know, for me, that's not what I'm trying to do here. That's not what I'm trying to achieve. Like, for example, the universal credit cut. Not that I was working on it though. everyone in the industry of economics, social research, everything was said, no, do not cut incomes of people who are the most vulnerable in society, especially at a time where prices are rising, fuel costs are going up, energy costs are going up, everything is just going up. You're going to cut their income. In addition to that, the income tax rise, like, don't even get me started. You know what? Can we not talk about that?
You don't want to. Are you all right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, darling.
Math wasn't mathing yet. The government still decided, yep, they're going to go through with it. You can see, you see what I'm talking about, right? I do feel like outside of the civil service, like, I have the freedom to fully look at policies and not be constrained about what the truth is or how I communicate the truth. Man, the evidence is showing X, but they're telling you Y. But me as a civil servant, I can't say anything. What? Because I'm bound by the civil service code, I can't say nothing. Come on, nah, that's not it. I think the third point ties in more to my first point, which was about learning and development. The thing is, right, there's so many opportunities for you to learn courses everywhere. You can do master's courses in some departments. They'll pay for it fully. But when it comes to actually putting some of the course content in practice, it becomes a little bit more trickier. That's with anything in life though. What we learn in school, what we learn at uni, we're not 100% applying it in real life job. I understand that, I hear that. But when it comes to maybe me learning Stata, for example, I'll be in one economist role. I'm learning Stata, I'm doing statistical code. I'm like, yeah man, this is, getting the outputs is great. And then I go into another job. It needs and requires a completely different skill set, which I now have to forget about what I did with Stata, learn this thing again. Then I rotate to another role. And it's like what I learn, I can't build upon it. I guess that's an element of the fast stream in itself, where you're just continuously rotating. There's not much continuity or building up on becoming an expert in a particular area. The truth is, I wasn't happy doing the role that I was doing. The last 2 roles, I've had 3 roles, 2 out of 3 roles, I really didn't enjoy. I just needed to switch up, man. Would I join the civil service again? I think yes, I actually would. I think it's just in my learning and development phase where I really want to become an expert in something and hone in my skills. I don't think that was the best environment for me as an economist to do that. However, I would join at a higher level where I think I would have actually had that expertise, and now I have more authority and more confidence to do the work and make decisions, as opposed to just being a cog in this massive machine. Because don't get twisted, civil service is big. Now I'm in my new role and I do feel a little bit more valued. I feel like there's a lot more time and energy invested into me in order to develop those expertise and skills. Sure, I do think the civil service is great. The work-life balance is great. It gives you a solid understanding of how policies are made. But for me, personally, what I wanted to do as an economist, or where I'm trying to go, it stopped aligning for me. I think it was a great head start. I now know how economics is used practically in government. Now I want to use economics to delve into some of the issues which working for the government wouldn't allow me to do, because of conflict of interest. So what am I doing now? I started my job as a economist again, but more in the research space. I'm working for a think tank. I really enjoy it there at the moment. I hope it goes well, and I hope my career is, continues to develop. But yeah, I hope that was useful. I thought I'd give you guys an update. Anyways, see you in the next video. Bye.